The World Economic Summit, you know, it's over, but will it work? The G20 leaders certainly look united. They released an 8-page document outlining a number of broad goals that are aimed at trying to boost financial growth across the globe. But what did this big-time fancy gathering really accomplish? Dave McCormick is the Treasury Undersecretary for International Affairs and joins us now. Hello, Mr. McCormick. Good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, great. You know, they had this great fancy dinner. I mean, they're drinking $500 Schaefer Vineyard wine, eating fruit wood smoked quail and pear torts with huckleberry sauce. All the big shots are there. But what does it mean to us?
Well, I think this meeting was really unprecedented in a number of ways. This is the first time the leaders of the 20 biggest economies in the world came together. They account for more than 80% of the global economy. And there were really three main things that came out of this. First, there was a commitment around a number of specific things that we need to do together to make it through this crisis and to come out of it and back on the road to prosperity. The second thing that came out of it was a very specific direction for a reform agenda that had both principles and specific actions that need to be completed in the next 3 or 4 months. And the third thing that came out of this was an absolute commitment among the 20 leaders to maintain open markets, to continue to promote free trade and open investment, which has been so critical to global prosperity.
But we're going to see these effects immediately. I mean, what if you're worried about your job? What if your neighbors are getting laid off? What if you've had to cut your hours at your work because business is down? How does it affect somebody right now, or does it?
Well, I think what it showed is that there's an absolute clear understanding, not only within the United States and our president, but around the world, of the severity of the situation and the need to act very aggressively and together. That's the first point. The second point is that there was a commitment not to take policies in any country around the world that come at the expense of others. As you know, one of the things that happened back in the 1930s when the economy started to struggle was that countries began to take actions that undermined the competitiveness and the health of others. We had an absolute commitment to work together to try to address these challenges, and that matters to Americans right here in everyday America.
And you know, it's interesting, of course, China now included big time, Brazil, some of the emerging economies. It's not just the 9 or 8 or 9, now it's up to 20. Tell us the importance and the meaning of that you have China sitting at the table, and they even had their own bailout plan.
Well, I think it really represents the change that has happened over the last 10 years or so. If you think back to Bretton Woods and the coming together of the countries that accounted for most of the global economy, it was a small group. Today our global economy is so diverse. The growth is being driven by a number of these emerging markets, and the complexity has grown dramatically. And the fact that these 20 countries could come together, very different culturally, very different stages of development, and come out of this with a very specific and a comprehensive action plan is really quite remarkable, and I think an important step forward.
And they're going to meet again in April?
Well, they committed to meet sometime before April 30th. So I expect that there'll be a lot of focus over the next 90 days or so in making sure that we are moving forward on the plans that we're committed to, and then the leaders will come together to review progress and look forward in terms of the next stage of reform.
Well, Mr. McCormick, we're counting on you and all the officials to help get us through all this, and we certainly hope it works and we get some substantial, specific progress. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much for having me.
Right on. Jamie?
There's breaking